Expecto Patronum! So if you haven't heard about Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, you're probably not a Harry Potter fan, in which case you wouldn't be watching this video. So I'm going to take for granted that you know all about the Wizarding World of Harry Potter created by J.K. Rowling, and that you're also aware of both the play, which just opened in the UK, based on the book series, and the book version of that play, which was released at midnight yesterday, July 31st, 2016. Now, I've had Harry Potter and the Cursed Child pre-ordered for about 6 months now, but I couldn't wait for it to come in, so I downloaded the Kindle version and read the entire thing yesterday. Now, having just read it yesterday, I'm still digesting, so these are just my initial thoughts. They may change as I think about it more, and probably after I reread it, I will have different things to say. I liked it, but I did have a few issues with it. Now, for the first part of this review, I'm going to go non-spoilery. After that, I'm going to get more into the meat of things, but don't worry, I'll give a warning before I do. Starting off, some Harry Potter fans aren't going to like this right off the bat, just because of the format. This is not, and I repeat, not a novelization of the play. It is the play. That means stage directions instead of wordy descriptions, acts and scenes, not chapters. It's also not actually written by Rowling herself, though it is considered canon. She, along with Jack Thorne and John Tiffany, came up with the original story, but the play itself was written by Thorne. So while she did have some major input, she wasn't the only one involved. And I think the story suffers in places for that. But I'll discuss that more in the spoilery part. The story itself begins right where the last movie ended, 19 years after the Battle of Hogwarts, with the Potter children on platform 9 3/4 heading off to school. Remember how Harry's middle child, Albus Severus Potter, was worried he might be put in Slytherin? And this cat is driving me crazy. What are you doing, cat? That's actually a big part of this story. The Slytherin part, not the cat. A large chunk of which the story centers around is the relationship between Harry and Albus. In fact, the entire story is about relationships between parents and children, husbands and wives, and those between friends. That's not to say there isn't any action. There is actually quite a lot. But keep in mind, this is meant to be a staged production, so doing anything as complicated as Quidditch is out. I wasn't a big fan of the antagonist, but I can't really go into that without spoiling things. But my unspoilery verdict is it's pretty good. It's not going to hit the same notes as the book series, but I think most Harry Potter fans will enjoy it, so definitely give it a read. So now on to the spoilers. If you haven't read it yet, you should quit this video now. Once you're done with the book, come back and watch the rest. This is your final warning. Nox. Lumos Maximus. Here we go. I like that they put Albus in Slytherin. This, of course, is a pretty obvious source of friction between Harry and his son. What I didn't get, though, is why bring back up the Sorting Hat, that it would take, what Albus wanted into consideration, because they don't really address that. Did he secretly want to be in Slytherin just to be different than his dad? Who knows? But I do think it's interesting that we not only get one, but two nice And I don't really count Snape as a nice Slytherin because, for the most part, he really wasn't. And speaking of which, I like that Harry and Draco's boys become best friends, though I did find it odd all the blatant more than just friends subtext thrown in there, pretty much right up until the very end when Albus and Scorpius start talking about the girls that they like. I'm sure I'm not alone in thinking that we were going to see our first LGBT couple. And I don't count Dumbledore and Grindelwald because Dumbledore didn't get outed until after the book series was over. And according to J.K., Dumbledore was in love with Grindelwald, but the feelings weren't reciprocated. To me, it kind of comes across as a missed opportunity, given all the groundwork that was seemingly already laid there. And the reactions of Harry and Draco would have been hilarious. Now, I've heard a lot of people think that many of the characters are too different than their book counterparts. I didn't really see that. Some cite that Harry wouldn't have told Albus he wished he wasn't his son, or threatened McGonagall the way he did. The way I see it, Harry is 20-odd years older, and, people change, but he was also under a lot of pressure, and people often do or say things out of character when they're really stressed out. I did like how Draco was more fleshed out. His story about his dead wife was really heartbreaking. Something I didn't get was Albus's obsession with saving Cedric Diggory. I didn't get what his motivation was. I mean, what did he think he was going to prove? What was he hoping to accomplish other than, saving the life of a child of someone he barely met? Did he think this would bring him and his father closer? I just don't know. I thought the time travel elements were cool, though. I'm a sucker for a good time travel story, and even though I did think that this came across as a little too Back to the Future 2 at times, I liked it for the most part. I like seeing the characters we know in the alternate timelines, and it was good to see Snape again, even though I'm not sure that's how he would have turned out had Voldemort really won. And speaking of He Who Must Not Be Named, I wasn't thrilled that he was once again in the mix. I mean, he's dead. But I did get a little chuckle once I realized that the plot to change the past to save Voldemort using a time turner was actually used several years ago in a Harry Potter sequel, which is a musical by Star Kid Productions. Check it out. I'll put a link down below. It's awesome. But of course, old Voldy wasn't the main baddie. It was Delphi. Delphi? I liked that she was presented as a friend through most of the play, only to be revealed, as the villain near the end. It's very reminiscent of the book series. What I didn't like about her was her origin. Voldemort's daughter via Bellatrix Lestrange. Now, I would buy that Bellatrix would have done anything to give birth to the Dark Lord's child. However, I don't think Voldemort would have gone along with it. Not only did he plan to live forever, hence his Horcruxes, eliminating the need for an heir, I don't think he would have wanted to share his power or deal with the possible threat of an heir. And I don't think Bellatrix would have been able to hide her pregnancy from him, given his power. I also didn't buy that the good, kind-hearted Cedric Diggory would have become a Death Eater just for being humiliated one time. But even with all these small quibbles, I still quite enjoyed the book and would love to get the opportunity to see this on the stage. So I'm saying, go out and buy it. So, see you guys later. Knox. Avada Kedavra, Wingardium Leviosa, Alohomora, Expelliarmus.